Everybody, this is Dream, and we have a big 10-game slate for the NBA today. We have a lot of good games here, lots of teams playing, obviously, so let's get into the slate itself. First of all, I'm going to give me picks for the games. I got Orlando over Indiana, Philly over Brooklyn, Oklahoma City over Atlanta, Pelicans over Minnesota, Milwaukee over Denver, Washington over Houston, Memphis over the Warriors, Sacramento over Toronto, Utah over Portland, and the Lakers over the Spurs. So, with that said, let's get into the injury report today. We have quite an injury report considering all these games. So, for the Pacers, Nembhard is questionable and Halliburton is out. If Nembhard is out, then McConnell and Duarte would definitely get a boost. For the Magic, Okiki's out. For the Nets, Durant is out. For the 76ers, Embiid is out. Embiid is questionable, and if he is ruled out, he would give Harris, Harden, and Maxey a boost, and also Harrell would potentially start, and if Harrell started, he would get a boost. For the Timberwolves, Gobert is questionable. If he doesn't play, then everybody gets a boost, basically, and Reed would get a potential start. Towns is also out, and Prince is out. For the Pelicans, Zion is out. Ingram is probable. Marshall is questionable, and Daniels is doubtful. If Ingram plays, which it looks like he will today, that will likely limit all the other bigs for the Pelicans a little bit, which they're kind of all priced up enough where that would be kind of chaotic to try to figure out who might 5x today. For the Wizards, Porzingis is out, which just opens up a lot for a lot of guys. For the Rockets, Porter Jr. is out, and Jabari Smith is questionable. For the Nuggets, Highland, Porter Jr., and Joker are all questionable. If any of them are out, Murray will get a boost. But if Joker is out, it really doesn't give a boost to another big other than maybe Gordon and Porter. And if Porter ends up being out, that would definitely give a boost to Gordon. For Highland, if he is out, that would give a boost to Brown as well. And I do feel like a lot of those guys might end up being out today, so we'll have to see. For the Bucks, Portis is out, For the Hawks, Hunter is questionable. If Hunter is out again, that will give a boost to Bogdanovich. For the Grizzlies, Adams is out and Conchar is out. That gives a boost to Tillman and also Jackson Jr. Make sure Tillman plays, obviously. For the Jazz, Olynyk is out, which gives a boost to both Vanderbilt and Kessler. For the Trailblazers, Winslow is out. For the Raptors, OG Anunoby is questionable. That could give a boost to a couple guys, depending on who they start. For the Spurs, Vassell is out. For the Lakers, LeBron is questionable, Davis is probable, Walker is out, and Reeves is out. If LeBron sits and Davis plays, then that will make Davis interesting. However, it's really going to be dependent on if he gets, what his minute situation looks like. And if Davis plays, that would definitely make LeBron look less appealing. We'll have to see how that plays out on the injury front. With that said, let's get into the plays I do like today. So we're going to start with our guards here, and we're going to start with TJ McConnell. Assuming he ends up starting again and Nembhard is out, he will be a top core play today, but he's very dependent on that situation starting. He's played really solid though since Halliburton has been out. His price has come up, so he's still priced well enough that he's viable on the slate. Then we'll look at John Morant. Now he's a little bit risky today, but he just looks like he's due for a gigantic game. He's had big scoring games, but I'm saying from a fantasy perspective where he gets, 60 fantasy points, which he does do occasionally. It's just kind of up and down. But he hasn't really had a huge game lately, and his price has finally come down below 10,000, and I just have a good feeling about him today. Then we'll look at Jamal Murray, who I really like today, regardless of who sits and who doesn't play. But he'll be much better play today, if the Joker is ruled out or somebody else is ruled out. He has just been playing really well lately, though his price has popped back up to it's probably where it'll stay for a while if he continues to play at the rate he's playing, but I think that he's viable on this one. D'Angelo Russell also very dependent on injury situation here, but assuming Gobert misses again, he will be in a good position, especially if some other guys end up missing as well. But I expect him to play well in this game, and it's a nice upside game for him. Then we'll look at Bruce Brown Jr., for Denver. His price isn't really that ideal, but he has upside if the injury situation plays out the way I think it does. And so I think he's a good option on the slate. His price is pretty fair for what he can do in this matchup. Buddy Hield, also kind of dependent on Nimhard not playing. He's been a little bit streaky lately, but his increased role with Halliburton gives him some upside. But he had a really bad game against Oklahoma City and even against Denver when he played them, and so I'm a little concerned with his consistency. But he has some big time upside, especially if Nimhard is out. He will be a must play in that situation. Then Denny Abdija, he has played extremely well when he started the season, and even in the last game, he had 39 fantasy points against Dallas. He's got an easier opponent against Houston today, and I expect him to play well in this one, assuming he ends up starting. Do make sure he starts, though, because that's where he gets the most upside. But with Porzingis out, he should start. Then we're going to look at Draymond Green. Now, Draymond Green he's been an enigma all season long. He has had good games and bad games, and he obviously has gigantic ceiling, but he also has a pretty low floor with the way he's played this year. But he has had some consistency lately. He has, in 5 of the last 6 games, he's been over 34 fantasy points. The Warriors aren't winning all that much, but he is playing well. And so as long as he's getting peripheral stats, points, rebounds, and assists, then he is viable here. He also gets some steals and stuff, so he definitely has some upside at this price point. At some point, his price is going to pop up a lot if he continues to play as he is, but he is viable on this particular slate. Keegan Murray, I've really liked how he's played lately. He's really been consistent. He's had some really big games as well. His price has come up though, so he's not an auto play like you had been for a few games, but he is fairly priced for his potential in this matchup against Toronto. Then we'll look at Jeremy Sochan for the Spurs. He's played really well in the absence of Vassell. I'm a little concerned that he won't be able to sustain this, because he does have a low floor, but his price is pretty good still, and so as long as his price stays under 5,000, he is somebody to take into consideration game in and game out. Then we're going to look at Xavier Tillman. Now, he does need to start here for him to be viable, but he's played really well in spot starts for the Grizzlies when what's his name? Sorry, Adams has been out. Him and a couple other guys have some upside in this matchup, assuming that these injuries hold. But I expect him to play and start and play well in that start, especially in the matchup against Golden State, who doesn't have a lot of big guys available. Then we'll look at Gafford for Washington. Now, he's a good option off of Tillman if you just want to go a little bit safer. However, his price has popped up a little bit, so he doesn't have as high upside as he did the other day, but he's still got some upside here. He's playing well, and as long as he continues to start with Porzingis out, he has nice upside. So with that said, that's what I have here on DraftKings. Obviously, from an expensive player perspective, the Joker, depending on if he plays or not, would be one of my top options, and also maybe Giannis. But other than that, there's not a ton of high-end plays. You could look at Shea Alexander too, but I didn't like a lot of the high-value plays today. And you're probably going to have to utilize one or two of them with all the value that's probably going to open up throughout the day. Let's go ahead and get over to FanDuel here. So we're going to start with our guards, and we're going to start with TJ McConnell. His price point has popped up a lot here, but he has played really well as a starter, and if he continues to start, then he will be a guy to take in consideration here on this situation. D'Angelo Russell for the Minnesota Timberwolves. He seems priced pretty fairly here. He's got some good potential, especially if guys get rolled out for the Timberwolves like it looks like they will, and I think he's a great play on the slate. Ja Morant is just due for a gigantic game. He took off the last game, and it seems like a lot of times when he does take off a game, his next game is a pretty big one. He's priced pretty fairly here, so I think he's in a good spot, and I look for him to have a good game. Shea Alexander, I really like how he's played lately, though he hasn't been hitting the fantasy numbers gigantically. He's still scoring a lot of points. He just needs to get back to the rebounds and the assists and stuff that he was getting for a little while, where he was having 60 fantasy point games a lot. But overall, he's playing well, and his team is playing, got a nice matchup here in a high scoring affair. Then we'll look at Kyrie Irving. Now, he's had 3 straight games over 65 fantasy points, and that's why I'm including him here. If he can make another one game like that, which I think he can, he's been rebounding well, assists well, getting some steals, and scoring the ball at a high clip. He's just become unstoppable. Now, he does have a tougher matchup today, but I do think he's good to go here. Kyle Kuzma has some interesting aspect here for Washington with Porzingis out. His price isn't super ideal, though, but he is viable on the slate. Then we'll look at Sokan for Spurs. Now, he is not priced very nice as compared to DraftKings, but he does have some upside on this matchup with the way he's played since Vassell has been out. He should continue to hopefully play like that. Danny Avdija, he's not as viable here on FanDuel as he is on DraftKings, but he's still a little bit underpriced for what his potential is as long as he continues to start. Xavier Tillman, also very interesting today, though he's not as ideal here on FanDuel as he is on DraftKings because his price is a lot higher. I think he's over $1,400 more expensive here on FanDuel, but he's still viable, assuming he ends up starting. KJ Martin for the Houston Rockets, or Kenyon Martin Jr. rather. His price point is pretty good, though he's not a must-play because he is kind of right in the fairly priced realm, assuming he continues to start, which I think he will today. And then finally, Nikola Jokic, he is due for a gigantic game. Assuming he starts today, he is questionable or probable. It'll probably vary throughout the day. But every game he's played recently, he's been in a triple-double. He's had 4 straight triple-doubles. He has massive upside as a result of that. And so, there's not a whole lot of viable, big, expensive guys. Now, I don't necessarily think you'll need the big, expensive guy today on FanDuel like you might on DraftKings, but he's still viable on the slate regardless. So with that said, guys, thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing. If you have any comments, questions, feel free to leave them below, and have a nice day, guys.